So company retention of employees is something that people are struggling with these days. And Eddie, I mean, you've been employing people for many, many years, and you've kind of gathered a bunch of folks around you that stick. What do you think is the reason why you're not really having retention problems?
I think the real reason would be that I always consider myself a coworker. I don't consider myself a boss. As far as giving orders, yeah, of course I have to give orders, and yes, you have to put your foot down sometimes. But and the employees, they notice that. They know, okay, he's a good guy. He might be mad today, just like they have bad days. And often I feel like the employees are my children because they can be rude to me. They can say what they want to say, and I have to accept it because you accept it from your children. You have to accept it from the employees.
Oh, man, I'm learning a lot here.
Well,
I got to accept it from my employees and my kids.
What?
Yeah, I'm like, no, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, well, you're a mentor, right? And so you lead by example. If you're flying off the handle and you're yelling back at them, then you're lowering yourself to their level. So I understand that. You're setting an example for them.
Yes, and I've had employees that were 17, 18 years old when they started with me, and in some of the instances, I think I was like a sub-father or a part-time surrogate was the word, I guess. And it's a good feeling. And I see many actions of the employees that I say, oh, they learned that from me. And it's a compliment. That's what it's supposed to be, a compliment. When you see men now do something that you used to do, it is a compliment.
Yeah, they're
and it makes me very happy. Yeah.
And then they get to pass it on.
Yes.
Yeah, we all want to have an impact in our life, right? We want to make as much impact as we can, and through our kids and through mentorship of other young adults is very rewarding to be able to participate in that. And that's one of the things as a business owner that we're able to do is to provide that opportunity to excel, to see things come out that we don't necessarily know that are even there, even in our kids. It's like, oh, what are they going to do with this challenge and kind of come out of it? But with respect to your company culture that you have there at your restaurant and the retention of your employees, what do you think it is that, I mean, you treat everybody like their family, I would imagine,
correct,
right, and mentorship. But
they are family.
Yeah. So but you have people that are working there that are not family members, correct?
Yes.
But they feel like they're family members.
Yes, I've had employees tell me things like, I love working here because I see men setting an example, married, children, dedicated, work hard, and they're doing just fine as compared to, say, his uncle or, say, his even father. And I've heard that many times. And old employees, they'll come back and they'll always say hello. Sometimes on Father's Day or on my birthday, I'll have 10, 15, that's exaggerating, maybe about 5, whatever. They're saying, happy birthday, happy Father's Day. And it's like, okay, now they're fathers. So, okay, so with that, it's really is a good feeling because you know you made a difference in someone's life. And when I see them, sometimes I don't even know their names, but I'll go on and I'll say, hey, son, how you been? How's your mother? And how's your father? And I hear you have children now. And I don't think I've ever set a bad example to any of my employees. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm anything special, just I try not to.
Well, as human beings, we want to live a fulfilling life. And we do that by having some level of entertainment in our lives, because we all want to be entertained. But we want to know that our life has meaning and that we made an impact. Like Marc was saying, if we make an impact and we leave a legacy, then our life should have some level of meaning, right?
Yes.
But it can't just be about making an impact or working hard or being a great example. We also like to be entertained. So I think if you have a nice balance of that, and if your employees see that, and they come to work and they're respected and they're learning and they're getting paid and they have some fun and they can joke around with the boss. I mean, it's more than you find at most places.
Well, before social media started with a reality TV started, my boys at the restaurant were already being entertained. We always thought we could have a show just if they record me and the jokes I would say about a customer. You know, there was this one boy. He didn't have a lot of education, and I was playing around, and so I said, take this to that heifer outside. It was a to-go order. And he said, okay. And apparently he went out there and said, Mrs. Hefford, is this your order? Oops. And I said, oh, my God. I said, you didn't know what a Hefford was? He goes, no, sir. I thought that was her last name. I said, no, son. Oh. I wasn't telling you to call her that name. I was just saying, look, she's a large lady.
Full-bodied.
Full body, and I learned never to do that again.
Right.
It was a mistake when I made it, and so we had fun. You know, entertainment is making fun of people. I see Don Rickles. I see the old comedians. They could tear into anybody, whatever color they were, or whatever size, or whatever they were, race they were. And sometimes my jokes always would end like this. So my employees would be entertained all the way, every day. I heard one of my boys say something funny the other day, and it was funny, and it went back 20 years. And I said, oh, my God, don't be saying that. That's terrible. And I said, you learned that from me. That's terrible. I should not have taught you that one.
It's also a bit of a Latino thing, you know, because I grew up in Laredo, and we make fun of our own kids, you know, and I was on a cruise with my son, my youngest, a couple of weeks ago, and he was looking for me on the boat, and I was in the adult area having a drink, and he came with his friend, and he goes, oh, look, there's my dad. He's the fat, bald one. And I go, hey, this is my son. He's the short, broke one. I go, go get out of here, you know? And it's funny. You got to be able to laugh at yourself. But in this day and age, in the culture of business, though it gets, I think, a little more difficult to have that kind of what they call locker room humor.
Yeah, that's what it was, locker room humor. And
so, guys,
we tear into each other, too.
So if there's one thing I know, Eddie, after 35 years in business and working with 1,500 clients in marketing, is that human beings, including business owners, and yes, we are human, we want to be entertained, but we also want to know that our lives have meant something and that we've left some sort of legacy, that we helped instill some kind of learning in the people who've worked for us. Because at the end of the day, if we make money and nobody else is successful, then there's an empty feeling, right? So you're creating a legacy. You want it to be fun. You want to entertain your employees, but you also want them to learn something and get better, because at some point you may not have the same energy you've had for the last 10, 15, 20 years in business.
Yes.
And you want to start passing that along.
Yeah, the legacy, I used to dream about becoming a millionaire, and I'd go by and on 281 North and see the Trinity Towers when I was the two buildings they built there. And I would say, I'm going to own these one day. I'm going to own all of these one day. And that never happened. So as far, I thought, well, that'll be my legacy. And now I'm realizing that the legacy is actually what you pass on to your children, your friends, your workers, and the kindness that you pass on. So it's just a little bit of, it's a few people, but that's what it's about for me. I realized, hey, I'm not going to save the world, but I can sure help, 20 people, close family that I consider, family, friends, 20 people. If I can help them be better persons, well, that's my legacy.
Well, I'll even argue, Eddie, that the effect that you have on your friends, family, and employees is more valuable than any currency there is on earth.
Absolutely. I didn't think that at first. I had no idea at first, but after realizing, it became apparent to me that it's just the family. When, it goes back to surround yourself with people that you love, surround yourself with good people. Well, that's what it is. And, of course, the circle can always be opened up to bring another person in, and that's what the goal was, and that's what it is now.
So when it comes to the challenges, Eddie, in the restaurant business, I think most people understand that it's a lot of hours that people are going to put in. But you guys went through a pretty bad fire. Can you so when did it happen, and what was that struggle like? How long did it take you to kind of go through that process? What were some challenges in that process, and then coming out on the other side of that?
Well, I remember getting a call from ADT saying, alarm, restaurant, and I immediately went to the camera, and it was on a Saturday morning, and I saw fire trucks out there. So I grabbed my wife, I think some of my children, we were there, and driving up 281, 37, I saw smoke.
Uh-oh.
And I said, oh, my God. Oh, my God, that's smoke from my restaurant, from our restaurant. And when we arrived, the first thing I told my wife is, listen, you go talk to them. I don't want to talk to anybody. And I saw the firemen on the roof with pickaxes, and they did a great job. I mean, they were there quick, thanks to a customer that was walking by that apparently I had served him 2 weeks before.
Wow.
And he said, sir, I saw smoke coming, and I called, and I knew it was you that was the owner, and I said, I won't let this happen to him. He makes such good food. So that was funny.
That's cool.
And then I told my wife, listen, you talk to the firemen, you talk to everybody. I'm going to go next door, and I'm going to start figuring out what we're going to do to fix everything, how we're going to get to it. So that was a challenge, and then we went on to, well, you had to gut the restaurant. And
Well, let's talk about the fear that.
Okay.
So there's pivotal moments in people's lives, okay, personal and professional lives. I can point to a couple in my life where if I could have chose to go a couple of different ways. There's an Al Pacino movie, Scent of a Woman, where he talks about how he would come to these crossroads, and he always made the wrong decision. It was his position on it. But I can point to a few of those where I made the right decision on these things. These are pivotal moments. This is a pivotal moment for you because you got destruction of what you've put so much time and effort into. And what are you going to do next? Is it overwhelming you? But not for you. You're sitting down and figuring out, okay, you're already delegating. All right, wife, I'm not sure what's her name.
Joanne, my wife.
You
Beautiful
take
wife.
care of this part here. Go manage what's happening there. I'm going to figure out what's the next steps. That's not to be glossed over. That's a big deal that you were able to do that so quickly and not be overwhelmed by that. What do you think? Is that just who you are? Where do you get that strength from?
The strength comes from always working hard, I guess. That's where I derive my strength from. And I immediately knew, I remember the fire marshal wouldn't let me go in. And I said, well, let me see what I got to start doing for tomorrow. And then the health department, of course, comes. And I said, well, let me see what I can save. And they said, no, everything's a loss. I said, the cheese is still good. It's in boxes and covered. No, well, they would not let me in for 3 days. So I had 3 days to start moving. And for me, that was enough time. And I was able to keep the employees. There was no fear, I guess. There was no fear. Anticipation, yes, wondering how long it would take. But since I immediately started going to solution, it didn't, there was no fear.
Did you get support from anywhere you didn't expect it?
Well, did I get support? Friends, they'd call and say, can I do anything? And I'd say, yeah, come over here and cook for us, please. I have a little warehouse across the street, and I put a pit in there, and I put ice chests, and I would buy the food, and I'd ask people, come and cook it. I'm too busy to cook. And I'm a good, I consider myself a good barbecue grill master. And that was expensive every day. I kept, all the employees, I think.
What were you doing? Selling plates out of there?
No, it was lunch for us to eat. No, there was there was no money coming in. And an important thing is, and I learned this early, you need to have a good insurance.
That was going to be my next question.
You have to have a good insurance.
Did you?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Of course. It took me years to learn, but I learned it quickly. Pay for your insurance. Stay on top of it. Insure everything, because we heard stories about someone falling and tripping, and it cost $1 million lawsuit. So that's, just insurance was very important. And, thankfully I did have good insurance, and they asked me what, the insurance asked me, what kind of company are you going to hire? And I said, no, miss, I'm not hiring any company. I'm doing it all myself.
Oh, okay. You rebuilt.
Completely, yes. All on my own.
Why did you choose to rebuild it yourself?
Because that was the only solution I had to keep my employees.
Oh, wow.
How so?
Well,
did you put them to work on construction?
Of course, yeah. They all became construction men. They all learned how to cut stainless steel. They all learned how to use a jigsaw. And cutting stainless steel is really hard. And they learned how to do it. And we painted, we insulated, we gutted the restaurant. Couldn't move anything around because the city inspector said everything has to go back the same way. So that's what we did. We just went everything the back same way. And then I asked permission if I could move the walk-in unit. And they said, yes, just put a drain in there. And that was all I had to do. And, of course, we lost our ovens. And, of course, we had to get a new roof and all new duct work. And that came out perfect because it needed an update. And I was able to do it.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's a blessing, right?
It was a blessing, yes.
How long did it take between the date of the fire and then the grand reopening?
I think it was like 5 or 6 months.
That's quick.
And
for commercial,
yeah.
That's quick with permits and everything and doing it yourselves?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't do a whole lot of remodeling in there. That you avoided some of the permit stuff by keeping stuff the same,
yes,
right?
that's what I was told.
Yeah.
If I'd have to get re-inspected, and it's an old building. So, no, I just kept it just the way it was.